Welcome to the Hope for the Journey podcast, a weekday wellness tips program presented by Dr. Denise Marie, Third Order Carmelite. Dr. Denise is a professionally qualified clinical psychologist, health and wellness professor and coach, counselor, plus medicinal herbs educator. Each Hope for the Journey podcast features a well-being key from Dr. Denise, helping you meet your self-care needs for living well. Listener discretion is advised because this and other Hope for the Journey episodes may contain discussions surrounding behavioral health problems and other actual potentially triggering topics.
Hello and good day, everyone. Welcome back to Hope for the Journey. I do hope things are coming along okay for you. My name is Dr. Denise. And on today's episode of the podcast, our topic is not overreacting, which is a psychological self-care key for living well. When I talk about overreacting, what do I mean by that? Overreacting is being triggered to react in an out of proportion way to a situation that confronts you, to have your perception strongly changed to the point of your becoming emotionally, affectively overreactive and intellectually overreactive and even behaviorally overreactive. That is, reactive in your conduct. So looking again at an overreaction emotionally, emotional overreaction would be especially when you're feeling shock, frustration, or intense emotions like aversion, disgust, sorrow, fear, despair, or anger. And we end up speaking or doing something impulsively on the spot. And you will notice typically and quickly that the emotional overreactivity includes physical components or responses, such as rapid heartbeat, tension, clenched fist, stomach beginning to be upset, sweating, blood pressure going up, heat on your face, etc. Intellectual overactivity would simply be making things more mentally, cognitively complicated than they actually are. And behavioral overactivity would be something like becoming withdrawn or restless, lashing out at others, and the like. So in looking at being overreactive more closely, you might be pondering what is making you vulnerable to overactivity emotionally, intellectually, and behaviorally. So I will list a few things which I think will begin to extend this conversation about being prone to overreactivity. First, time pressure. How about stressful life events at work or school or at home? What about worrying about things that are beyond your control? What about becoming overreactive because you disagree with someone that you're with? What about being overreactive because you feel disrespected? Maybe you've been insulted. Are you overreactive because you have given your time, energy, or support to others way too much? How about being overreactive because you have some kind of limiting belief, some limiting perspective that is giving you a small rather than a big picture of things? Perhaps the overactivity is related to a negative or bad past experience that has led to your making an assumption, some assumption that then induces your overreactivity. So, in other words, you have allowed prior experiences with particular people, places, and/or things to inform how you react to similar people, places, and things in the present. And of course, it's possible for sleep deprivation to give you a shorter emotional fuse and greater sensitivity to stressful happenings in a negative fashion. So at this point, it would be important to look at ways to minimize being overreactive, to think about what you can do in order to lessen the chance that you will overreact in a given challenging situation. Well, first, I like to point to the value of turning your attention inward first, giving yourself a little time of introversion. Yet, of course, if you are with anyone in particular, it would be important to let them know that you need to take a few moments to collect yourself. And what that really means is collect yourself emotionally, intellectually, and also in your conduct. Another way to begin the process of minimizing overactive reactions is to identify your feelings and emotions from the get-go. This will assist lowering the intensity of the strongly charged feelings and emotions. You can also set out to try a calming activity. Being calm really helps to ease and recharge your upended feelings. So, for example, maybe it helps you to get a warm drink, to stretch your muscles, to listen to particular types of music that can calm you, etc. And what about the importance of thinking about the full situation, getting a big picture so you can gain the clarity that you need to get back in the ring, so to speak, and work toward a constructive outcome. To minimize being overreactive, it is also, of course, important to identify your thoughts specifically, to ensure that your thoughts are indicating that you have been seeing things objectively. It is also helpful to disconnect your previous experiences from the present ones so that you know you will be responding to the present rather than reacting based on your past. In minimizing being overreactive, of course, it is important to really set yourself on a positive outlook, to really aim at productivity. And of course, the process of minimizing being overreactive is helped by making sure that you have sleeping habits that are really quality sleeping habits, at least 6 to 8 hours a night, so that sleeping well is a priority for you. It is also good to consume food and even take supplements that are ones that calm the nervous system. And of course, in line with that, why not also consider what not to consume? For example, caffeine. I also am a big believer in trying to laugh at what you can laugh at, and really intentionally seek cheerfulness despite the difficulties that are confronting you. Further, as needed, you can consider sharing with a trusted person who will be able to confirm what you're going through and then offer you advice that is sound. So overall, as you can tell from what I have reviewed, it is possible to decrease or even stop a habit of overreacting, all for the goal of strengthening your psychological wellness, resulting in a more abundant life for you in general. Next, going ahead, for more content on today's topic, I wanted to draw your attention to two people, persons I have observed who reveal a behavioral pattern of responding in a stable way, being proactive instead of overreacting. The first person I point to is Riley Gaines, the U.S. champion swimmer, book and docuseries author, and owner of a special athletic clothing company. Director of a center named after her at the Leadership Institute, Riley Gaines stands up positively for safety and fairness to women who have been denied legitimate opportunities to receive certain championship standings in women's sports. Championship titles which they have fully worked for, earned, and deserved. As a voice in the fight to save authentically female sports and to support female athletes, Riley Gaines presents herself in an emotionally, intellectually, and behaviorally strong and balanced fashion. Even in the face of others disagreeing with her in clearly overreactive manners, Riley's style is realistic, constructive, and she exhibits a knack for self-restraining love. You can listen to Riley speak on her Gaines for Girls podcast. And the other person I wanted to indicate for you is U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Justice Thomas has, for decades, struck me as a firm but peacemaking man who responds in the proportionate, measured way needed in difficult circumstances. He is committed to quality judicial research, seeks truth, does his job according to excellent standards, and upholds human dignity even when that is challenged in a rough way by others. Justice Thomas continues to retain very good composure, even in the midst of being unethically treated. So both of these influential professionals, Riley Gaines and Clarence Thomas, know that not overreacting is a worthy psychological practice for better living. Now, focusing in on what comes next for this podcast today, I wish to highlight a piece of music that orients us toward not overreacting. The song I will feature for you is called Perspective, written by Sam Hoffman and Jordan Howerton, writes to CCV Music, P. The Harmony Group, LLC. So I will read a good number of the subject-relevant song lyrics which I discovered on the internet. Help me see the world through the eyes of my brother, through the wounds of another. Help me see the world. Give me perspective. God, help me see. There are no borders between you and me. Give me perspective. Open my eyes. Tear down the walls that I've built in my mind. Help me see in the world. Where there's war, there is peace. Where there's pain, there is healing. Will you help me see? Help me see the world with the strength of a mother, with the love of a father. Will you help me see? Give me perspective. God, help me see there are no borders between you and me. Give me perspective. Open my eyes. Tear down the walls that I've built in my mind. Joy is not just found on mountains. Peace is not just found in stillness. Worth is found in more than status. Open up my eyes. Broken lives don't lose their purpose. Hope is more than just a concept. Follow does not mean be perfect. Open up my eyes to see the way you see this life. Give me perspective. God, help me see there are no borders between you and me. Give me perspective. Open my eyes. Tear down the walls that I've built in my mind. So as this song shows us, gaining God's sense of perspective aids us toward not overreacting, and so improves not only our own psychological wellness, but also our overall well-being. At this time, I would like to talk about some extra possible care for you and your overall wellness by pointing to the following: 3 health foods and plants for mental clarity to enhance one's perspective toward not overreacting, which is our psychological self-care key of the day. But please bear in mind to review these 3 items with your doctor before adding them into your dietary practices. I describe next this trio of foods as complementary to body and soul functioning. First, I can indicate Panax ginseng. Ginseng provides a shot of energy for the mind, helping you keep sharp and concentrating. And whether you favor ginseng in a tea for drinking or as a supplement, Panax ginseng will help clarify things when they may be a bit fuzzy. Then I can mention spinach. Spinach is a nutrient-packed superfood, relaxing the body, boosting the functioning of the brain and the heart, strengthening vision, plus working against depression and even the aging process. Additionally, there is red or purple cabbage. Red cabbage is rich in antioxidants, assists in the preservation of brain health, eye health, and decreases stress levels, along with fighting premature aging. Only please remember my advice to speak about such foods and plants with your doctor to make sure they work with your particular health needs. Otherwise, it does please me to underline ginseng, spinach, and red or purple cabbage as gifts of nature for well-being of both your body and soul. Also for today, I wanted to share this brief item with you. A post-it note I have written to encourage you to tone down any pattern of overreacting. So I hope you will take to heart these words from a friend. Actually, from Proverbs chapter 19, verse 11. Be among those with good sense who are slow to anger. It is their glory to overlook an offense. Regarding what I have planned next on our podcast agenda today, I have a phone app to mention that could assist you when your mind is affected by overreacting. This particular app is called the Neurocycle, presented as, quote, the first ever brain detox app, end quote. It is a tool meant to guide you toward increased self-awareness, emotional self-restraint, and mind management. The app comes from a neuroscientist and mental health expert I am familiar with named Dr. Carolyn Leaf. The content description for this app reads, quote, Neurocycle uses Dr. Leaf's scientifically researched and revolutionary 5 steps to help you take back control over your thoughts and life, end quote. The app gives, quote, you specific instructions and tips for each day, end quote. The app also features, quote, decompression activity audio guides. Track your progress, end quote. Further, moving past this Neurocycle app I learned about, you can call to mind that there are other wellness aids to review in our Hope for the Journey podcast resource center, located on Instagram at Cause for Hope. In conclusion, to bring a finish to this evening's points of discussion, I wished you to know how pleased I have been to put together this podcast for you today on our valuable topic of not overreacting, to emphasize the importance of this psychological self-care key for you. And please know that I personally wish you more hope for the journey of greater well-being.
The Hope for the Journey program airs weekday evenings from 7:45 p.m. to 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram and YouTube. Dr. Denise thanks you for listening to her Community Wellness podcast and wishes you to keep in mind that there is cause for hope of more well-being.